Okay, so it's being recorded.
So, hello everybody. Welcome to Technical Review. I would like to tell you a few words about email templates. Some of you already heard my presentation about email templates, which was primarily focused for business. Today, I would like to more focus on developer perspective. But at least briefly, I have to mention few words. What are the benefits and what was the business requirements to know what we are talking about. So I would like to present you a new email framework, which is using standard Sitecore rendering functionality, which allows to reuse existing or sections in more email templates, which are developed just once and just referenced in different email templates. It also allows flexibility for editors to design emails by themselves and also to prepare by them some new sections. Yes, I'm not sure if I mentioned that the way how they will design it is meant to be using Sitecore page editor, and I will show you later on the way how they can do it. So email templates are defined in Sitecore 3 in the same way as all other pages. For that, there is folder emails under the home, and on this place will be editors storing individual emails. The layout of email itself is defined in the Sitecore's layout details. Also, the individual sections which are inserted into the layout are also defined in the layout details. And yes, any sections is inserted into the appropriate place, so-called placeholder, which is defined in layout. All emails use one common email template, which contains only 3 fields: subject description, and list of attachments. And such emails will be created by editors. So as a developer, you will just prepare such email item in English global language version so that such item is not deployed, and but still every process and sending emails works correctly on local computers. All the time you are preparing new email, you have to fill in release notes so that editors know what email item they should create it. Email layouts are defined in the same way as we have, for example, default layout for any page. So in the same way, we have email default layout where all the placeholders are defined. It is a list of all possible placeholders. It doesn't mean that every placeholder is used on every email. It is linked in a standard way in Sitecore under the layout components. There is section email types, and there is item for email default layout, which is linked with the CS HTML file in our solution. So how is such email rendered in reality? So for that, it is we use Sitecore layout details. So on the item of the concrete email, we just click on layout details, we select appropriate layout, and then we are able to add controls to that layout. Always we have to fill in placeholder to which is this some rendering inserted. So for example, for email header, there is placeholder email header area, and I have rendering which renders header. So I will add this rendering, and I will fill in explicitly placeholder where it should be rendered. So where are the renderings itself stored? It is under folder renderings. There is special folder emails, and right under this folder are stored common renderings for rendering sections which are reusable on more emails, like header, footer, disclaimer, etc. And the renderings which are connected with concrete email, which has to be prepared by a developer, are stored under the appropriate folder. For example, rendering for activation email are stored under the consultant section, and rendering for order confirmation is stored under the orders folder. Every rendering which is accepting some data source has to have pre-filled data source location to appropriate folder in storage library. It is needed to guide editor when he in page editor click on some section and add there, for example, header section, and there rendering which should render header, then such window for selecting the data source automatically appears, and it is predefined into the appropriate storage library folder. In our website projects, I have created the section emails and email types for this functionality, and there are sections for common emails, which is like email controller, which is common for all common sections. And such stuff are stored under the presentation folder, and again, email related sections are stored under the appropriate folder, like consultants or order. So I have a screen of some action result method for rendering, for example, text section of activation email. It is stored in email registration activation controller, and what I wanted to mention is that such section is not meant to be prepared by editor. Always such sections are prepared by developers, and it is those of the sections which are somehow calculated, which are depending on some parameters. So if you have some section which is, for example, need some information about customer, you need to provide it into the customer ID as a parameter of this method. And I will there later on show you how you can pass such parameter when you are calling render email item function. And what I have didn't mention is that it has to be always optional parameter because of page editor. If you open this email item in page editor, it doesn't provide any parameters, so that's why it has to be optional to work it correctly there. And also, we have here new attribute, email attribute, which can be assigned to whole class or to some method, and it ensures that such sections are not rendered in page editor. There is rendered some special box that it is not editable section, and because it is really depending on some parameters and on some calculation, and it doesn't make sense to show it in page editor. So this can be automatically done using this email attribute. And email sections for editors. We have prepared in storage library some list of sections of items like email header, email disclaimer, or email footer, from which editors can select and create new items. So editors are able to prepare 3 different email headers, and during preparing email template, they can select which will be used. And always when because these sections will be extended in a future, so always when a new such section will be prepared for editors, do not forget to update insert options on standard values of emails bucket folder. It is the second image how you can do it. And also the items which are related to concrete email, like activation or the confirmation email, which are not meant to be prepared by editors. Such items and translations we store under the component library under emails folder. Always we create item which has the same name as the email itself, and we prepare group in template. In this case, it is text section or data section, which belongs to appropriate email specific section in email. And to make also the life for editors easier, we have to, for every placeholder, prepare placeholder settings where we define which renderings are allowed to select if a user is trying to fill in this placeholder. On the right image, you can see, for example, in page editor, the editor clicked to add new control for email text area, and he has option to select from registration activation text area or email order confirmation text area. So this is because the placeholder settings has been set correctly for email text area, which is shown on the left picture. And because emails itself are prepared by editors, they can create, for example, 3 emails for activation, and we have to somehow bind the correct one or the right one with the activation email functionality. So for that we have a new configuration under the email folder called email templates, where all the emails should be listed, and when you create new email which is not mentioned here, you have to extend this template and prepare so that it is able to bind it with this functionality. And this is image how page editor looks like and how editors can create new sections there. And this is how the result email using this framework looks like. And I can mention that I have prepared a really detailed documentation for developers and also for editors. So I think everybody is able to do it if he will follow these documents. And I will show you some live examples. Maybe I don't have mentioned in the presentation how the parameters are bind with the email sending functionality. So I will show you. So this is function for sending activation email. First, which is called from some other place, some service or whatever, and here is the place where we are preparing parameters. All the parameters has to be filled in here, which are used by some section on email. And then this is the part where we load from the config item which email item is active. I have prepared also some new exceptions like email renderer exceptions and new online business issues. In this case, this one was already existing, but I have prepared some new one really connected with email rendering, so you can find it on online business issues wiki. And this is the most important function, which renders email item to string. It returns the HTML, and this HTML is then sent to SendGrid function, which sends email itself. And this, maybe I can mention the whole idea. This function creates HTTP request for that item, and it gets HTML in response, so that it is really enabled to use all the Sitecore rendering functionality and prepare defining of renderings and layouts and all the other stuff. And again, I would like to show you some small introduction how the editors will work on that. But my computer is not working. So So I will go to page editor and I'm on the emails folder. I can create new page. I have predefined some email templates. So for example, I will select new activation email. Finalize it. And here is the list of all placeholders, email header, text, product list, which is not relevant for activation email, etc. And I will create new sections using add new section, select rendering, select predefined data source, and it is here. Then I will prepare footer, then disclaimer, and finally the sections which are related, which are prepared by developers and really related with some calculations. So here I can select from the predefined component, and it is displayed like this on the template. I'm able to show it in preview how this email looks like, and that's basically it. So do you have any questions? If not, thank you for attention.
Thanks. Okay.
Other?
Davide, můžeš to, když tak zastavit, tak to máme.